welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna do a little video that I've been planning to do for the longest time now, but I just never really got to it. But since it's the new year, I thought it would be fun to have a little recommendation tag so I can give you guys book recs that I still would recommend now in the new year. There are some new books in here that were published in 2023 and some that were published way before. I think that's to say that these books are really good and nothing beats them, so I still would recommend them even in 2024. I tried my best not to repeat any books, but there are some categories or some questions that I just couldn't think of any other book. I tried my best. There are some repeats, but I hope you guys find some recommendations in today's video that you'll enjoy. Okay, so the first question is a book you tell people is your favorite. Now, this isn't to say that this is my favorite book of all time, but I think this is my favorite book I have most recently read, and that's Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I read this a couple months ago for my best friend chooses my read for a week video, and I honestly went into the book thinking it was any other romance book, and I wasn't really expecting much from it, but that book blew me away. It's just so cute, it's so fun, it's fast-paced, the main characters are fun, they aren't annoying, there's no miscommunication. It was just a fun time. I love Adam Carlson. He is by far one of the best book boyfriends you could possibly read in my opinion, so if you guys haven't read it, definitely go read it. It's a fake dating trope, super fun characters. Question number 2, a book that is your guilty pleasure. So my guilty pleasure would be most recently the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey, and this is a collection of 5 short stories, so each book runs about 100 to 200 pages, I would say, and if you get the physical copy, it's all of the 5 books in one big chunk of tome. It's more character driven. There are trigger warnings, but it was just something that you could really get behind. I think it was also because I love Criminal Minds, and this reminded me of it because you have a male main character that is an FBI agent who's a profiler, and then you have the girl main character and she's the serial killer in this sense. You never really read about women being the serial killer, so that was kind of intriguing. It really pushes you to want to know why she does these murders. I'm not gonna go too much into it, but it's a really heavy book, but also so impactful and fun read. I personally did not love the romance. I think it was more instant love and based on the physical relationship rather than emotional. The main point is I really like the backstory of our girl main character. I just thought it was so horrific. You just really want to know how things end for her, and you're just rooting for her the entire time. If I'm telling you I'm rooting for a serial killer in a book, isn't that intriguing? Why? You know, why? Yeah, it's my guilty pleasure because I also just don't think it was that well written. It felt kind of Wattpad-y, but sometimes you just need a good, quick Wattpad story, you know? Question number 3, a book everyone loved but you didn't. The Cruel Prince series. Please don't come at me. I would like to preface that everyone's opinions are valid. You can love a book that I hate, or you can hate a book that I love. I will not come at you. Please do not come at me. Books are all subjective. Just enjoy reading. But yeah, I did not enjoy the Cruel Prince series. Mainly, it was the insufferable main character, Jude. I just could not get behind Jude. I don't understand why she kept forgiving her sister. Don't even remember her name. She was so god awful, and then the characters were not likable. There was a bullying trope. I couldn't get behind it. I couldn't feel the love. I couldn't feel the plot. It just felt so weak. It was just not for me. The characters were not for me. I enjoyed Carden in some parts, but then I remember other parts and I'm like, ugh. A book you read the fastest. This is hard to say because I don't really keep track of books like that. I will say the most recent book that I kind of just sped through and ate up so quickly was The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This book blew up in the earlier half of 2023 and honestly deserved. It was such a good book. I think it was super fast-paced. It was really fun characters. I rarely read books with vampire, that's not Twilight, dark vampire stories, not, oh, they glisten and they try to not eat humans. No, this is a world where vampires are in charge and they kill humans. It's dark and they have wings and they have magical powers. And then you have this girl that is human living amongst them because a vampire king adopted her. It was just so fascinating. And then you get thrusted into Hunger Games trials, other creatures. It was just so nice. The politics was really good. The characters were really well written. Absolutely ate it up in one sitting. At some point, I read over 200 pages. Number 5, a book that deserves more hype. So I think I'm gonna go with this series, but I'm not sure if it didn't get this hype. You know what I mean? Like, because I read this series recently. I read it in 2023, but it was released years ago. So maybe years ago it had all the hype, but I feel like this series deserves the hype like ACOTAR. That is the level of hype that The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare deserves. Absolutely. I rarely see people talking about this series, and I don't know why. I feel like it's such a good series. More people should read it. It is so breathtakingly heartbreaking. It's the shadow hunting world in the 1800s. It was just so beautifully written. I think about those characters to this day. They are the characters that I put in the same category as the ACOTAR characters and as the Throne of Glass characters. That series is the only series where I think a love triangle is done perfectly. You get this love triangle, you have no idea who she's gonna end up with. And I promise you, you'll have who you want her to end up with, but then you also feel so gut-wrenching when she picks that one person. Even if you're pro Will, you're gonna feel bad for Jem. If you're pro Jem, you're gonna feel bad for Will. There's no in between. It is so heartbreaking. Number 6, a book that is becoming a movie/TV show. Now this is confirmed, but we haven't heard anything else about it, so I don't know if it's still in progress or what's going on, but ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses, is becoming a TV show. They're doing a live action apparently, and I honestly don't want it to be a live action. I feel like there's so many things, magical things in that world that could be done so much better through animation. The CGI gotta be CGIing. If it's not, it's gonna be cringe, and I'm hoping it's really good. I'm hoping Sarah is, you know, putting her foot down in every way she can possibly put her foot down to be like, no, this is not how my fans will want it. So hopefully it comes out well. A book you have reread the most. There was no way to get around this. ACOTAR. I've reread it 3 times total, 4 times for the first book. Don't ask me why. Sometimes I just like to reread it to enjoy it. Other times it was because I was rereading it with a friend, annotating and blah blah blah. So there was no way to get around it because there's no other book in my library that I've read more than that. I do plan on rereading Throne of Glass. Let me know if you guys want to see that because I love that series. Number 8, a book from a genre you don't typically read. This one I picked The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. This is just a literary fiction. It has history embedded in the story because this is a real place, this is a real school, but the story itself is not real, although it could be. We never know. Someone could have had this experience. It was just never documented. Who knows? I think this book was so impactful in my life. I feel like you should all give some time to read this book if you want to learn about the South, about how even in modern day, how crushing segregation and racism is. To read it from the point of view of an African-American child going to this academy because he was wrongfully accused of something. It was just so heartbreaking. It was heavy. Definitely want to let you guys know that it was heavy. If you guys are up for it, definitely highly recommend that book. Number 9, a book that deserves all the hype that it gets. So going into this series, this was everyone's #1 favorite book of all time in the series, and I fully understand why. Magnolia Parks. This book crushes you, makes you cry, makes you laugh, makes you love the characters, makes you hate the characters, makes you so angry. It just gives you all of the emotions, and then it brings you back to happiness for the last portion of the book and then crushes you again. There's just something so beautiful about a book being able to do that to you. Honestly, I think people saying that this is their favorite book in the series are very valid. Number 10, a book you usually recommend when asked to give a recommendation. I could not give you one option. I'm so sorry. I made a list of specific genres or tropes So if you like politics, fantasy, action, adventure, found family, and incredible main characters and side characters, I highly recommend Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. If you enjoy mystery, thriller, fast-paced, I recommend The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. It was so fun to read. It was so fast-paced. You are questioning everything and just want to know what's going on because it's so eerie and weird, like what the main character is going through. And then if you like a romance that you can relate to and friendship and growing up, not being able to communicate in a relationship and learning from that, I recommend Happy Place by Emily Henry. That book was one of the books that I honestly related to the most in a really long time. You don't feel angry at the characters because they're so relatable. Like you will find yourself realizing, hey, I've thought of that before. Hey, I've actually been in that situation before. That's crazy. Number 11, a book that has your favorite characters. Again, this is hard to decide. All of the characters that I will forever think about, forever, are the Akatar series, the Throne of Glass series characters, and then also the Infernal Devices. Those characters embedded in my soul. A book you wish you could live in. This was kind of hard because I was thinking about a fantasy book, but your girl would not survive in a fantasy world. Trekking long distances, riding on horses, riding on a ship for months, or fighting, sword fighting, getting hurt, injured, having to get stitches or whatever healed without any anesthesia or just any of that. Your girl would not make it. Would not make it. If the world doesn't take me out, I might take myself out because I don't know if I could survive that. So I decided on The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and this is more kind of like a mystery thriller. I wouldn't want to be Cassie. I don't want to be the main character. You can have that. But I will be a character in that. I would be okay being someone in that program. So if you don't know what the Natural series is about, it's about an FBI program that has teenagers or young adults helping solve cold serial killer cases. That's all you need to know. Super good, super fast paced. I would be in it because I love Criminal Minds. I would love to solve these cases as long as I'm safe. You know, as long as I'm not in any serial killer's radar, I'm good. The next question is a book you thought you would hate but ended up loving. Hate is a really strong word because I tend to be pretty good at picking books that I know I would like, not love most of the time, but like at least like. I rarely have a book that I honestly hate, but the closest thing I can get is Flawless by Elsie Silver. I didn't think I was gonna hate this book, but I did not expect to like it as much as I did. I went into this thinking that it was just gonna be a, you know, like a small town romance, whatever. It's my first small town romance really, other than When in Rome, but this is more of a cowboy, bull riding, small town romance, and I had no expectations going into it. I thought maybe it was gonna be a little bit weird and a little bit cringe because I've spent most of my life in the South, but not in the country South. So I just felt like it wasn't gonna hit the target. It wasn't gonna be relatable and it wasn't gonna be fun to read, but I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it a lot. The characters were funny. I didn't get angry at these characters, and I feel like the plot was pretty mature. I didn't feel like I was reading childish romance between two grown adults that should know how to communicate with each other. Honestly, yeah, that is the book that I thought I wasn't gonna like, but I ended up liking a lot more. A book that made you cry. Beach read. Beach Read by Emily Henry. Boohoo cried. There's something about family and relationships and just when two characters are able to open up and talk to each other about their like personal issues and just personal family relations, done. That did it for me, you know, it made me boohoo cry. The last question for today's video is a book you wish you could read for the first time. I could have done so many that are obvious answers, but I think I'm gonna go with The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. This is the most recent book that I read that I was really like, wow, this book crushes your soul and crushes your heart because it follows the process of grief and mourning that was so correctly written. I don't know, I just feel like if I were in this character's position, I would also be reacting this way and feeling this way, and just how Carissa Broadbent wrote this series of grief and acceptance and just memories was so beautiful, you know? I think I've been talking for a little bit too long. I feel like I don't know what else to say. I feel like I've been rambling. I apologize if I have, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I hope you guys found some books that you are wanting to read now because of this video. Thank you guys for watching today's video and I will see you in the next one. Bye!